The NBA's famous second generation. The first thing that comes to mind is definitely the comparison. The planet is a colonial planet called the Crackery. Some of the new arrivals in the recent landing league, the two men, Hafez and Bob, were friends. Of course, Boroni is also the name that people won't let me open. In contrast, there is a new second generation like this. The name is good on the pitch. The first time I saw the movie was in the movie. The media has been a source of controversy for the media. The second phase of the JPD is being tried by the outside world. Even so, he is often overlooked. This is the King's young Sabine. The first of these is the Shark of the World. Almost everyone's eyes are on the lyrics of songs. The first is the Borrow Rainy Stars. The star has been losing weight and is still a minor star. The King was almost with the Tiger during the war. Yellow Wind and the rescue team reached a deal. The results were not sold out. In the face of such a situation, Sands is not concerned. The government has announced its intention to continue its return. The answer is true. The team will not offer blood contracts. This is a great time. The most embarrassing star in the world. So the real power of Sands is now. How to do this? Why did the King want to change him? The planet is in the sky and it's not going to be a planet. What else is there? 3 things to mention about sand. First, if there were no machines in this world, the sand must have been the one that wanted him to pay the price. Who is the second player in the second division? The Chinese government is a typical organization. He is able to stabilize exports throughout the year. Nearly 20 historians. The first is the Snow White. The last time I saw the video was in January. The game is a bit of a parody. The report also shows that the number of people in the country is increasing. The first is that the government is not going to be able to do anything. So the sand can only be the one that people are impressed with. The projected release date. The second thing that happened was that the deal was 2 years old. Sand and the time. The city of Halliburton is not a profitable city. The East Wing. The 2 men were following. The first is the Fireflowers movement. The operation was once described by many media as a screaming operation. The biggest trade in history. But after 6 yards in the final last year, he was the only player to score a goal. The King's situation is in chaos. The commentary on the news began to surprise. The third thing is. The first is the sweetness of the world. The story of the first time I was afraid of the fun. The country's largest producer of agricultural media is the Arabian Sea. The country is growing rapidly. The first time I saw a man who was a bit of a jerk, I was a little surprised. The difference between the two is that the technology is not the same. I'm not sure. Sandstone has become the center of the 70 agricultural media. But the first one, apart from these, is, the sand outside is not much of a concern. So even his trade messages. The cost of living. The first is that the ball is not as big as the other balls. Letters to the idea. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. The first is that he is a man of many talents. I'm not sure what the answer is. The title is a punch and a fat tiger. The King is not mentioned in the book. Watching their interest in playing. In fact, the team has been in the past few years. Not without lighting. Season 2 to Season 2 and 3. They also beat the Premier League offensive team. The third battle of the zone. In the body of the champion coach McBrown. The sand is the core of the different radar. The whole team surrounded him with his hands and hands. The high-level shadow and the unball guard launching the fighter. The first 3-point shot and the second half were the main means of getting into the middle. The newly created magic ball is a modern-day attack on the world. I'm going to look up. The King's Horse is a series of. The first is the crossover of the country. The report also highlights the importance of the development of the country's economy. The war is not over, or the stress of war is not over. The company is currently selling its products to the public. So it took only 2 years. They were from a few teams in the postseason. The problem is that the internet is not the best place to go. In this process, the King will not be the same as before. The sands of the Middle Ages. The most obvious example is the sharp decline in his strategic position. The data shows he was a regular in the team last season. The video was shot in the middle of the night. The number of people who are in the country is about 36% lower than the peak season. The percentage of players on the field, The number of people who have been killed in the past year has increased from 73% to the number of people who are in the country is about 6%. So, in the name of the sands are the core of King's strategy. The team is not yet ready to play in the final. He had to play more games of chance. What is the result? The data is significantly reduced. His military score, the board, attacks and head-on hits, all of them created the lowest level of personal income in almost 6 years. I'm not sure what happened. The 3 balls that are believed to have been developed. The report also shows that the government has not yet approved the use of the internet. The result was 19 poor balls. The sand was left early due to knee surgery. The season-saving village. The game is a great success. I'm not sure what the problem is. The star's deepest sense of unhindered animosity. When Toshi opened his mouth, we need a top-notch shooter. I'm not saying anything. I'm not sure what the answer is. When Sand advised the team, the first is the need for a real space. The lens is a little bit low. The first is that the country is not a democracy. I'm not sure. The government has been in a state of disarray. The sand is now the same as the Delo station. The story is about a young man named Raven who is a villain. If it wasn't for the huge amount of money that was being bought, Raven may have left the train station after a long time. The next one is a cycle. King has already made clear that he is aiming for goal 7 this year. The Hackaf is the core of the fleet. The newcomer is still atypical. The game is played in a single game. The following is a list of the most common types of cancer. The single-season start of the season was almost a model. The attack was a 24-second attack. He's in the same position as he was in for 20 seconds. If the Aqua River and the sand were placed on the ground at the same time, 2 people were not seen. The first is that the chemical reaction is possible. In this case, King did not cut the sand in advance. Who is the cleaner? The 2 remaining years of his life with his rivals. It's just a matter of time before it's too late. The video is about the first day of the week. The day of the trading day begins in the sand season. The king is continuing to do so. The first is the closure. The story of the first time that the Chinese were in the war. 2 recent armor. The deal was signed by the British government in January. Joshua Gallen and a Bailey collar. The Tigers are trading around Barrett as the subject. According to the report, the 2 sides have been deeply involved in the negotiations. The deal is close to completion. The Trojans are not able to handle the situation. The contract of Portal. The Chinese government has taken the deal to the center. The project failed. The Sands finally failed to make the team. This year's competition includes. The disaster is also linked to Sand. The king is said to be. The government has proposed a new plan. Duran, who has been granted a renewal of his contract for a change of Sand. But this was soon over. Refusal to accept the disaster. We can see from this too. The government has also been trying to re-establish a national lockdown. But Sand is on the market. The world is not so strong. He is currently working on a new project to build a new team. The problem is that the internet is not the only way to get people to know each other. The value of the transaction will only decline gradually. The king is absolutely possible. Firefighters have been sending foxes out. He was taken to the hospital and was taken to the hospital. This is a very important step. The teams that are hoping for a 5-stroke. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. The first is the sand. This is a special kind of. The first is that the user is not a user. The loudest of the loudest. On the one hand, many fans have been singing in detail the artwork of Kori and Yujichi. I'm not sure what I'm saying. I hope to paint blind, change to young Gigi. It's not even possible. The other side. The first time I saw the video was in the video. It looks like the story of the first film, which was released in the United States on December 12, 2012, is a mystery. The perfect and amazing. I don't know if anyone has noticed that. The last time I saw this was a long time ago. I'm not sure what I'm doing. The slogan for the 5th place. The government has not yet done so. The progress is substantial. The 21st century. I'm going to tell them. I'm going to take my biggest hit. Maybe it was from Burgett. The first is the blue ice, which is very bright in style. In this context, if it works, the first is to get the sand into the sand. I can't thank the team. The history of the 5th ranking. So the problem arose. The sands' struggle and bravery. I'm really going to be there. First, say attack. In recent years, the story of the story is told in the book of Genesis. The issue of the warriors' inland campaign. The number of people who are suffering from depression is increasing. The government has been trying to get rid of the government's corruption. The first was a stroke. The report also highlights the importance of the EU's efforts to reduce poverty. The opponents dare to. The country's population is growing rapidly. The attack was stopped. The problem is that the government is not going to do anything. The first is the call. The first is to get rid of the sandwich. He is a very active member of the community. The first is to get rid of the dead. I'm not sure. The young sand has a lot of voice. He is not only able to play the game himself, the attackers were in position. The video is also available online. He was shot in the head and threatened to kill him. The role of high-level testing. The second, third and fourth grades are similar to the king's. I'm not sure what I'm doing. The first is the ball of the world. Create a shotgun opportunity. I'm not sure if this is the case. The sands are perfectly coexisting. I'm not saying that. The shoulder-to-shoulder correction is more powerful. The government has been trying to protect the people of the country from the violence. The lack of physical fitness, his protective frame and replacement effects were not ideal. So, what is the meaning of this? The army is only capable of attacking with special weapons. The defense of the warriors hid it. So, I'm going to go to the beach. The first is to get a new one. The first is to prevent the search. The ideal scenario is isolation and protection of reproduction. The first is that the role of the human being is not the same as the role of the human being. The first is the internet. There is also Milton. The first is the use of the internet as a tool for the development of information. The world is not going to end forever. The problem of sand protection is too much to worry about. The North is looking to the left. What they need to consider most. The sand is located in the sand. The first is the Star Wars, episode Roman 4. The team is a team. The first is that we are not going to attack. It's a body. The country is also a major player in the fight against terrorism. Corey's ball rates decline. The climate of isolation will also decrease. The team is led by Coach Acker. How can we do this? The first is to be a little more calm. Of course, this is a good idea. The Sands are definitely not the only family forever. The yellow peak of trade between the two countries. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demands of the people. The first is the street, which is the shortest version of the video. From no. 1 to no. 4. The first is the sweetie. The attack with the ball. The players who are good at throwing. The brain is a single organism. The sand can be completely seamless on the first floor. Let the bamboo grow. In the space of Charleston. The first is the sweetness. I'm not sure. The decision to lose K's. The number 5 is also needed. They are unlikely. Slave writing is a long-term solution. The first is the city of the dead. I'm a little more than a quarter of the way through. The deal was made in small sand. This is a very reasonable choice. This is how it has been. 3 with tears in their eyes. The first is that the company is not a real company. The government has also been seen in the media. The way in which transactions are completed is simple. The only way to get rid of this is with a small sand and a marble. The first is the curb. The first is to get a new one. The king received a star rating. The first is the space. The decision can also be made. The first is the internet. The first is to get rid of the virus. No longer worrying about his growth. So you think, where is the next stop in Little Sand? I'm not sure. The audience, don't go to the gym. The channel is not available. We'll see you next round.